Shalom. I'm going to start this off by giving honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Bahar Kakudash. Peace and salutations to the elect men of Israel, starting with the other apostles of GMS on down, to the rest of you brothers, and the brothers that I labor with, who are diligently pushing forth the will and doctrine of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, in all faith, truth, and sincerity, according to the true understanding of the scriptures. To all of you, I say Shalom. So this is this is gonna be going into basically minding things of the spirit, keeping your mind on the spirit, holding on to the spirit of the Lord in everything that you do, right? It's lucky in the midst of driving, but it's something that's very important and key when it comes to our daily walk, having, the spirit working with us, and you gotta truly seek that spirit, truly seek the Lord, because this isn't something that's just how should I say, this isn't something that's just given to anybody, so with you receiving the truth of the Lord, right? It's something that you want to take serious, and it's something that you want to make sure that you are striving for, the mastery for, You want to make sure this is something that you're using to build up your spirit and build yourself up in a position to where you're able to receive life, all in all, And I'm going to read this Romans, the 8th chapter, because it goes into a lot of things in regards to, mind of the spirit, being of the spirit, living after the spirit, as well as, the other half of that, the opposite, the opposing side to that, being of the flesh, living after the flesh, and doing things of the flesh, right? Because with you doing that, you put yourself in a position to bring death upon yourself, and we're looking to receive life. So we are to be making sure that we're doing those things that bring us life, right? And as like the saying goes, in the world, you're a product of your environment. So if you surround yourself, or you indulge in things that's not of life, that's not of the Lord, that's of the flesh, then you're gonna be bringing death upon yourself, But it's gonna go on to say that within this chapter, and I'm gonna just get scriptures to add to the point, so Lord willing, this be edifying. So jumping straight into it, this is Romans chapter 8 and verse 4. It says, "For the righteousness of the law," it says that the righteousness. Well, you know what? It's like I'm starting at the wrong verse. This is I'm gonna start it at verse 5. It says, "For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit." You see? So you want to be minding things of the spirit, because that's how you're going to be of the spirit, With you choosing to seek the Lord, and you have your mind on Him, He's going to give you, to your heart's desires, right? Like Solomon, he chose to have the Lord's wisdom, which is the greatest thing to have, and that's of his spirit, right? So you having his spirit is what's going to allow you to be able to be open to receiving that wisdom, but you got to desire that wisdom. You got to make sure that you are continuously looking to have it, to hold it, maintain it, never let go of it. You want to maintain and hold on to the knowledge that's given to you, the wisdom and understanding that's given to you, And if you keep your mind on those things, you're going to be a product of it. But it says, for to be carnally minded is death. You see? It says, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So if you want peace, and you want to stay alive, right? You got to be spiritually minded, And how do you stay spiritually minded? Keeping yourself occupied in the Lord's word. The things that's been written, that's been said, that's been manifested and set up. Of the Lord. Keeping your mind in those things, occupied in those things. Allowing His principles to be your principles. You leaning on His understanding over your own understanding, and you allow His understanding to shape yours. Because that's how you're going to be able to take every step that you do take within the world correctly. Because you're applying His understanding, His wisdom, His knowledge. Right? So, I'm going to jump. Let me see. Or you know what? I'll stay here. I'll keep reading. Because verse 7 adds to the point too. It says, because the carnal mind is enmity against God. Right? And what does that word enmity mean? It says a state or a feeling of active opposition or hostility, right? So the carnal mind is going completely against, it's like they at each other's necks, as far as the things of the spiritual mind, going against those things of the Lord. So it says it says because the carnal mind is against enmity. It says because the carnal mind is enmity against the Most High, against God. It says, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. You see? So this is another point adding to why it is that you want to make sure that you are minding things of the spirit, right? The flesh is written and is made to go off, That's us being so under sin, right? It's the flesh that's subject to the sin, The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, right? The flesh is weak because that's what it's sown to, It's of a weak nature. So you don't want to occupy, condone things that's of the carnal mind, the carnal thoughts. Emotions and feelings. You gonna have them. But you want your spirit to be what controls them, not the other way around, right? It says, verse 8, so then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. You see? So we aren't to be trying to operate in a way to where we allowing the flesh and the carnal mind to have reign and rule, over us, over ourselves. Right? Can't let the flesh get the best of you. The flesh is what's easily susceptible to being pulled and tugged any kind of way. But if you got your spirit built up, in a certain way, you're gonna be able to refrain from those things. You're gonna be able to escape, the wiles, escape, the things that the flesh has the urge, to do that's not pleasing to the Lord. You aren't supposed to commit adultery. You aren't supposed to lust after the other man's wife. You know that you aren't, supposed to lie or steal. Try to hit a lick. You know that you aren't supposed to have that evil eye towards your brother, right? All these different things, but yet the flesh is what's going to be subject to those type of thoughts, to those type of feelings, things like that. That's why the scriptures talk about rebuke them sharply, that they be sound in the face. That starts with yourself first and foremost. Before doing that to another brother. Because how can you help another brother get the beam out of his eye? You know what I'm saying? Or the mote out of his eye, and you still got a beam and mote in your eye. With you being in the spirit and dealing with the things of the spirit, you're putting yourself in a position to be able to receive the wisdom that comes of the Lord's Spirit, right? And you having that wisdom that comes of the Lord's Spirit, you're able to receive correction, reproof, instruction in righteousness, as they go on to say. And I believe it's 2 Timothy, right? And I can grab that real quick. It's like let me see. Yep, 2 Timothy 3 and verse 16, it says, all scripture is given by the inspiration of God. You see? So if it's of God, it's of his spirit. It says, and it's profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. You see? So these are the things that's of the spirit, being spiritually minded, right? These are the things that are going to please the Lord. It says that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. You see? So it's through his spirit that you're going to be able to have your good works be completely on point, because you, through his word, through his spirit, are you going to be able to fine tune the steps that you take within your daily, your daily walk, right? Making sure that it's profitable, making sure that it's aligned with doctrine, with what the Lord say, right? And that's how you show love, keeping his commandments, right? And then the moment you go off, it's through his word, his spirit, that you're going to be able to prove yourself, And once you do that, now you're in a position to where you've cleared that beam of more of your eye, to where you can help another, clean that beam of more out of their eye. So we want to be of the spirit, not of the flesh, because it says, Romans 8 and 8, so then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. We looking to please the Lord, because we please him. That's how we gonna be at peace. We gonna be pleased, we're going to be at ease. We're going to be in peace, right? Not settled on our leaves, right? When I say at ease, right? Because I'm not saying this is our rest, but he's gonna give you that comfort, you know, through this word, because it's this word that's gonna allow you to receive all of those things, you know. The flesh ain't gonna do nothing for you. It's the spirit that does it, right? That's what it says, John 6:63. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profited nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. You see? So you want to stay in this word, because that's how you mind the things of the spirit. You see? It says the words that I speak unto you, they are spirit. So if you want to mind the things of the spirit, you gotta mind the Lord's word. You know? You gotta mind the words that are and have been vetted, established, manifested by Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. You know? And it's those words that hold his wisdom, putting you in the know-how to be able to deal with anything and everything that comes your way, right? But you gotta make sure you're doing your due diligence to keep it there, you know? It's through this spirit, you know, the spirit of the Lord, that you are going to be, you know, confident that you're going to be put in a position to be able to have you know, what the scripture says, sound mind, you know. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power. You see, a spirit of power and of love, a spirit of love and of a sound mind. You see, I believe there's like another translation that go on to say, yeah, Khan. This is the RSV. It says, for God did not give us the spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power and love and self-control. You know, you see, it says self-discipline in the NLT, right? But it's through the Lord's spirit and the spirit that he gave us that we gonna have, you know, that discipline and that control over the flesh. You know, you live after the flesh, you bringing death upon yourself, because that's not how the Lord is operating. You know, and those that's of that world, you gonna get, you know, yourself got, because this world is written to pass away. You know. This is 1 John 2:15. It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. You see? It says, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. It says, and the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. You see? So all those things, right, are coming of the flesh. You indulging of the flesh, you being corrupt through the flesh. All those things are going to pass away. And those are the things that the Lord is not dealing with. Those are the things that aren't of his spirit. That's not the world that he's co-signing. That's not the world that he's in favor of. You know, he's not with that world. He's against that world. Because it's of the flesh. It promotes living after the flesh, not of the spirit. But it says, but he that doeth the will of Salakia, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. You see? So it's going to be you doing the will of the Lord, right? You holding to his word, you know? Because again, that's how you going to be quickened, you know? That's how you going to be able to gain profit, right? This ain't to say that you can't do anything in the flesh. You just aren't supposed to allow the flesh to have reign and control over you, you know? Because like the scriptures go on to say, and this is a scripture that, you know, brothers brought out on the midweek highways today. This is 1 Timothy 4 and verse 8. For bodily exercise profiteth little. You see, it still profits. It's just little, right? In comparison to what? It says, but godliness is profitable unto all things. You see? That godliness is going to be profitable unto all things. You know? Having the Lord's wisdom is what's going to allow you to be able to bring upon yourself that godliness. You know? Because it is godliness. Having the Lord's wisdom. That's why Solomon was able to be the richest man to have ever lived and the wisest man to have ever lived. Because he had that godliness of the Lord. You know? It says, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that is now, that now is, and of that which is to come. You see? So that's what's now and some what's to come. You know? So these are the things that you want to hold on to. These are the things that you want to keep in your mind and understand, like, okay, this is something that's very important to make sure, you know, I'm keeping in mind when it is you know, me going through the world on my daily walk, whatever it is that you do. You know what I'm saying? The Lord's Spirit is in all things. So you always have a chance to incorporate the Lord, you know? Question is, are you willing, and are you truly seeking for that to be your, you know what I'm saying, your situation? Because when you have the Lord at the center of your life, you know, he's able to touch all things. But if you just have him a part of your life, then you choosing when it is that you know what I'm saying, want to deal with the Lord, but the Lord don't deal with, you know, half-steppers, being lukewarm or being cold, right? Those that aren't truly seeking after him. Because he said, you know, there's going to be many that say, Lord, Lord, but he never knew them. Because they never knew the Lord, you know? Even say that in John, the 1st chapter. Yeah, I'm going to start at verse 9. John 1 and verse 9, it says, that was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. It says, he was in the world. It's talking about Yahushua. It says, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. You see? He came unto his own, and his own received him not. You see? So you want to make sure that you in a position to where you truly know the Lord. You know? You truly receive the Lord. Because that's how you going to be able to receive those things that's of the Lord. You know? Jeremiah 17:10 says, I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. So you want to have the fruit of the Lord. Have your ways be according to the Lord. So that way you are able to be given those things, you know, that are of the Lord. Plain and simple. Simply put, you know. But let me jump back. Close this out in this Romans 8. Romans 8 and verse 12, it says, therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. You see? It says, for if we live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. You see? So we aren't to be trying to live in a way to where we trying to do things and establish things in our own way, you know, trying to establish our own righteousness. That's not how it works. You can't climb up some other way. The only way that you get into the Lord, the only way that you get into salvation is through Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, you know. Yahweh Shai operating under the Lord, in alliance with the Lord, and us in likeness, you know. It says, verse 14, for as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. You see? It says, for ye have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. You see? So you don't have that spirit of fear when you are of the Spirit. You have that spirit that's of spirit, you know, that's the spirit of what it go on to say. You don't have that spirit of fear, but of power, you know, love, right, sound mind, self-control, self-discipline, you know. That's the spirit that you gonna have. You living after the Spirit and being led by the Spirit. It says, verse 16, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. And if children, then heirs of God, and joint heirs with Hamashiach, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. You see? So these are the things that are to come with you being of the Spirit. You know? We may suffer a little while, but yet what's to come is what's gonna be beautiful. What's gonna, you know, push us to be the best that we can be. It's what's gonna allow us to be able to receive life and not death. Right? You establishing the things that's of the Lord. You making sure that you upholding that light that's been given to you. You know, that light that's of the Lord, and helping others to see. You know, they're able to get that light from the Lord, and that light is what's going to take away that darkness. You know, the things not understood, the things of confusion that aren't right. Having light being shine on things you able to know and understand, right? And it's through the Lord's light, that true light, that you're going to be able to truly understand and know what it is that's going on around you, what it is that you need to do, and what it is that's expected of us. You know? You going to know what it is that you got to do to be able to bring life upon yourself, you know, upon your house. So And to hear Matthew 5 and verse 16, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. You see? We do what we have to. We do what we're supposed to. Do what is been required of us so that way we can glorify the Lord and help others see, come back into remembrance and repent and see that it is the Lord that we need to guide us, to put us back right. Because again, this isn't our rest. This world is death. This world is of the flesh. And this flesh is corruptible, but the spirit isn't. So, mind the things of the spirit, right? And that's it. So, Lord, when it's been edifying with that, I'm going to give all the praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Yahweh Kakwadash. Till next time, I say Shalom.